Oh, hi there. Now you may be wondering how I got into this situation. Well, it all has to do with me sucking at UHC, but more to the point, here's why you suck at Hypixel UHC. Disclaimer, in no ways am I trying to boast about any of my skill in this video. In fact, I reckon a lot of people watching are probably better at the game than me, but I'm just speaking from pure experience in this video. Now, you may have realised in the first instance that I was actually in a really weird situation, full iron in a ravine fighting a full diamond. Well, this kind of leads on to my first point already of knowing when and when not to fight. You see, I made the mistake of trying to fight that guy when I was full iron, and it ended up really badly. So I ended up running for a couple minutes and then jumping in that ravine. He swiftly followed me, and obviously it resulted in death. But what could I have done to avoid that? Well, for a start, I saw him fighting a full iron, I could have just avoided him. Instead, I tried to clean and fight the full diamond, and that ended up really badly because he ended up chasing me instead. So especially in solo, knowing who to fight and when to fight is a massive part of the game. Normally, if you see someone with more gear than you, you're going to want to avoid them. And also, if you see someone that you know has lots of kills, heads, or just higher health than you and you don't have healing, you're also going to want to avoid them. Fights I would take are fights that people have worse gear than you or have the same gear as you, as long as you're confident in your PvP skills. In teams it's a little harder because you can't really pick fights as well in teams because you're normally forced into melee with your team. But the best thing about teams and knowing when to fight is just cooperating, going in at the same time, trying to target a single player, trying to drop them. That's kind of my best tips for knowing when and when not to fight. So just to recap, avoid anyone who has better gear or health than you. As long as you're confident in your PvP skills, fight people who have worse gear than you and lower health. At number 2, we have coin management. Now at first this might not come across as one of the biggest issues in the game, but I've noticed too many people from the range of about 3 to 7 star that are just wasting coins on stuff that is just so unnecessary. When you're in the lower range of stars, about 1 to 3, you're going to want to use your coins sparingly because you're not going to get too many of them. The last thing you want to be doing is going and blowing all your budget on an extra ultimate that you're going to make once every 100 games. Like I said, I've already seen people make this mistake of overbuying stuff because they think it's worth it, but instead they just need to buy the basics. So I'd say if you're from 1 star to about 5 star, before you buy any extra ultimates apart from maybe Andril, I'd recommend you try and max out every profession first, and then when you get to about the 7 star, 8 star range, that's when you're going to want to buy all your extra ultimates that you're going to use. Don't go buying Flask of Cleansing when you're going to make that one every 500 games. It's not worth it. Instead, when you have coins to spare, you're going to want to go and prestige a lot of professions, and maybe even kits too. So the order I would manage my coins in is first, I try and max out all the professions, then I try and max out my favourite kit that I'm going to use, so either Archer or Stone Tools or whatever you're going to use. But when you're a lower star, I'd recommend Archer. Next is deciding whether to prestige stuff or actually buy extras. Now, I'd very greatly recommend trying to prestige quite a lot of stuff before you buy extras. And even when you have thousands of coins, you still only buy the necessary extra ultimates. The ones I call necessary is Andril, Fate, Daredevil, Hyde, and there are others depending on your game style. If you want a minor game, probably want to buy a lot of high cost extras like Perun and tablets. But if you're the snowballer, then Andril, Fate, they're the main ones. And also, if you like to King's Rod fish, then obviously King's Rod is necessary. But you can also buy Shoes of Vidar, which you're basically guaranteed to get if you find diamonds. So there's just some tips on spending your coins. It's all about being sensible. And also don't forget to transfer your arcade coins to UHC coins. Please just don't let them sit there. The third reason you may suck at UHC is time efficiency. As someone who's recently been going for 20 kill solo games, time is literally everything. From the moment you spawn, everything has to be as quick as possible, with no distractions or ways of getting sidetracked. What a lot of people don't realise that timing is literally everything in UHC. Those 10 seconds you wasted mining 10 extra cobble for no reason could be the 10 seconds between you loot sweeping full diamond off the floor or just not being able to get the loot and someone else getting there before you. It's literally so important that you're as early as possible for everything. Now I can appreciate that those who play Archer, you're obviously going to be about 1 or 2 minutes behind those who play Stone Tools, just because you have to mine that wood with your fist to get those tools. But in the long run, probably evens out because you've got that string and you've got those arrows to bow spam, so it kind of levels out. The ideal timings for me would be that you have to be in a cave by 6 minutes, otherwise you're not going to be up by PvP, you're not going to be getting all those cleans, and it's just not ideal to be up so late. I can understand that if you find a good cave and there's lots of diamonds and ores, then you're going to want to explore that, and yeah, that's an exception. You can spend extra time into PvP to mine all those ores, but my guidelines is to try and be surfaced by PvP. Now, a lot of the time I do miss this by 1 or 2 minutes, especially when I've found a good cave, but I am quite strict on myself trying to meet these timing, and usually they pay off. You've also got to be very quick with your crafting. You don't want to be wasting time just crafting really slowly and just anviling and enchanting like you've got all the time in the world, because this is UHC, you don't have all the time. You have to get there as quick as possible with the best gear possible to try and fight those who aren't a stack, hopefully. There's not really too much to say on time management, except for it's so important just to be quick, and you need to be as fast as possible about everything. So that's all I can really give about time, but it's so important. Make sure you're very speedy. Fourth reason you may suck at UHC is because you don't play to your strengths. If you're good at melee, try and force melee with someone. If you're good at bow, now, I'm not encouraging bow spam, but use your bow more than you would your sword. People seem to think because, and I quote, it's immoral to bow spam, even if they're good at bow, they just go and force melee. I would not recommend doing this if you're not good at melee. I'd stick to the bow, and you see this with trappers all the time. They play to their strengths. They're so good at trapping and building those traps and basing people in there that they don't need to go snowball every game because they can afford to trap. It kind of works like that. People that are good at melee, you want to get heads off early at the start of a game so that you can speed rush people and melee them and drop them as soon as possible. Also, when I say play to your strengths, maybe if you're planning on bow spam, make full proj pro armor if you have no intentions of meleeing. Similarly, if you have intentions of meleeing people, make sharp 3 and protection on your armor. It's kind of common sense, but it's really important that you play to your strengths because it's the only way you're going to win. You're not going to win by playing by your weaknesses. And finally, this is probably the worst tip of all, but it's almost the most important one. Remember the games for enjoyment. Too many times have I forgotten that I'm playing Hypixel UHC to have fun. It's like it's a competitive sport or something. It's addictive, and people start taking it so seriously. I think that's why there's a lot of toxicity in our UHC community. But the biggest thing is just to have fun. Like, even if you promise yourself that you're going to try hard a few games, take a game or two off. Have fun, trap, skybase, play with mates instead. It's really important that you find a balance between enjoyment and then actually trying. Obviously, a lot of people do find trying fun, but it's also very stressful. It's not good when you're in quite a closed mindset of trying to PvP really well, and instead sometimes people just need to calm down, you know, have a bit of fun, because if you're in a tilted mindset, you're not going to do well. It's facts. I am very hypocritical saying all of this, but I can only say it's true. Like, I can't disagree that any of this is not true, so I'm afraid enjoyment is the most important thing. It doesn't matter how good you are at the game if you're just going to get angry at everything. I think a lot of people have learned from this over the years and kind of adapted. I like to think I've got better, and now I see the game more as an actual game, less than some sort of competitive sport. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it. Now, hopefully, after all these tips, you suck a bit less at UHC, and obviously, hopefully you're not like me, and try not to be absolutely trash. But on a serious note, I do hope these helped you, and I will continue to make more original content in the near future instead of all these generic highlights. So if you did enjoy this video, actually do subscribe. It does mean a lot. I'm trying to get to 1K by the end of the year, so that would be amazing. So thank you all for watching, and hope you don't suck.